All right, let's jump right into it. Today, we are unpacking a truly massive, unprecedented economic initiative that is designed to completely rewire rural Indonesia from the ground up. It's called Koperasi Desa Merah Putih, or the Red and White Village Cooperatives. I'm incredibly excited to take you through this explainer because the sheer ambition of this project is just fascinating. We're talking about a top-down, nationwide push to transform local economies literally overnight. So let's get started and see what this is all about.
Imagine trying to build 80,000 and 81 of anything all at once, because that is exactly the target here. And to be clear, this isn't some distant, long-term projection. The Indonesian government is aiming for the simultaneous creation of over 80,000 new cooperatives across the country's villages and sub-districts, with an official launch targeted for mid-2025. It is an economic experiment on a scale we just rarely see.
So, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with the grand vision of Koperasi Merah Putih, then look at the 7 mandatory business units, dive into the digital co-op transformation, break down the funding and guarantee scheme, check out the governance and oversight guidelines, and finally wrap up with the criticisms and implementation risks.
Okay, starting right off with Section 1, the vision of Koperasi Merah Putih.
This whole thing was initiated by President Prabowo Subianto through Presidential Instruction Number 9 of 2025. And it's not just about opening a couple of new village stores. It is meant to be a fundamental shift in how rural economies actually operate. As the president stated, this cooperative is a tool for the economic struggle of the common people to become strong and economically sovereign. The core philosophy here is deeply rooted in Article 33 of the Indonesian Constitution. It leans heavily on gotong royong, that traditional spirit of mutual cooperation. The ultimate goal, collective prosperity and national food security, basically shifting away from monopolistic supply chains and putting economic power right back into the hands of the villagers themselves.
Moving down to the ground level, let's hit Section 2, the 7 mandatory business units.
So what does this actually look like in reality? Well, the government isn't just handing out funding and hoping for the best. They are strictly mandating exactly what these cooperatives have to build. Picture taking a walk through a completely revamped village square. Every single Koperasi Desa Merah Putih has to establish these 7 distinct business units. We've got a formal cooperative office, a grocery kiosk for basic staples, a savings and loans unit, a village health clinic, a pharmacy, a warehouse equipped with cold storage, and a logistics facility. Now, villages can totally add other businesses on top of this if they want, but these core 7, absolutely non-negotiable.
Now you might be wondering why these specific 7 units. It's like a giant puzzle. And the strategy is to keep all essential economic activity firmly within the village ecosystem. Think about it. When local farmers produce goods, they can keep them in the local cold storage, ship them out using local logistics, and then villagers can buy their groceries and medicine without a single rupiah ever leaving the community. It's essentially a blueprint for building true, self-sustaining independence at the local level.
Now for the tech upgrade, Section 3, the digital co-op transformation.
Managing an ecosystem this complex is no joke, and you definitely can't do it with just a pen and paper. This initiative wants to completely shatter that old, outdated stereotype of rural cooperatives. You know the one. Dusty manual ledgers, cash-only transactions, absolutely zero data tracking. Well, scratch all that. The new standard introduces the Koperasi digital platform. We are talking modern point-of-sale systems for the grocery kiosks, direct integration with BPJs, the national health insurance for the clinics, and even automated WhatsApp reminders for loan repayments. It is a massive, massive technological leap forward.
To put a finer point on it, Koperasi is basically an all-in-one software platform custom-built for these co-ops. It automatically handles financial reporting, which is absolutely crucial for keeping things transparent. It tracks grocery stock in real time, figuring out exactly what's selling the fastest so the village never runs out of the basics. It handles digital queuing. It securely stores medical records for the clinic, the whole shebang. The idea is to make highly professional management actually accessible, even if the folks running it have never managed a co-op before. Which naturally brings us to the big question in Section 4, the funding and guarantee scheme. So how on earth is the government planning to pay for over 80,000 of these high-tech, multi-unit businesses all at once? Well, it comes down to this number right here, up to 3 billion rupiah. According to the regulations, each approved cooperative gets access to that massive capital injection, and the terms are highly favorable. We're talking an interest rate of just 6% per year with a 6-year repayment tenor. That is an enormous amount of money being aimed straight at the grassroots level. Let's actually trace that money trail for a second. Surprisingly, the primary source isn't the regular state budget, and it isn't the local village funds either.
It's coming from the SALAPBN, which is the state budget's excess balance. So national excess wealth is being injected straight into the villages. The Ministry of Finance funnels this cash through Himbara. Those are the state-owned banks like BRI, BNI, Mandiri, and BSI. And then those banks disperse the multi-billion rupiah loans directly to the Koperasi Desa Merah Putih.
But, and this is a really big but, there is a high-stakes catch. What happens if a village cooperative tanks and defaults on that 3 billion rupiah loan? Well, under Ministry of Finance Regulation number 49 of 2025, up to 30% of the village's own Dana Desa, their crucial annual government grant for things like infrastructure, has to be sacrificed as the ultimate guarantee. It's obviously designed to force local accountability, but as you can imagine, it carries a really heavy local risk.
So who is managing all this risk? Let's look at Section 5, Governance and Oversight.
With literally billions of rupiah and the village's own development funds on the line, who is actually calling the shots? Well, getting the co-op off the ground requires a strict legal process with a notary and the Ministry of Law, using a very specific naming format. But the controversial part is that the law mandates the local village head, the Kepala Desa, as the ex officio supervisor. This means the village head oversees the governance, the HR training, and critically, they hold the power to approve the cooperative's financing. So a whole lot of power is being centralized right in the hands of the local political leader.
And that leads us to our reality check-in, Section 6, Criticisms and Implementation Risks.
Look, whenever you roll out a program this incredibly vast and moving this fast, it's going to draw scrutiny. As impartial observers, we have to weigh the government's best-case scenario against the very real severe risks being pointed out by economists. The government is hoping for total village economic independence, food self-sufficiency, and massive financial inclusion. But on the flip side, critics are warning of severe moral hazard, a potentially crippled state budget if widespread defaults happen, and the irony of losing actual cooperative independence because of all these top-down mandates.
Let's break down exactly what the critics are saying here. First up, economic experts argue that using the excess state budget, the SAL, is legally supposed to be a safety net for national deficits, not a piggy bank for high-risk credit schemes. Second, that 30% guarantee we talked about, critics say it literally risks bankrupting local village funds. If a co-op fails, road repairs and school funding could just vanish. Third, putting the village head in that ex officio control seat really threatens the whole democratic point of a cooperative. A co-op is supposed to be run by its members, not local bureaucrats. And finally, there's just the human resources reality. Tens of thousands of brand new cooperatives simply do not have the experience to suddenly manage billions of rupiah and run 7 different businesses overnight.
So it really all boils down to this. Will Koperasi Desa Merah Putih actually become the ultimate engine of rural independence, or is it destined to become a massively costly bureaucratic burden? It is for sure one of the most ambitious grassroots economic experiments we've seen in modern history. It balances staggering potential with equally staggering risks, and honestly, only time and the actual execution at the village level will give us the answer. Thank you so much for diving into this complex explainer with me today. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.